And I would like to venture that when you demonize a lot of these traditional relationships back in the day, in essence, you basically make it where even the men don't want to be traditional anymore because you demonize it so bad to the point where now guys, they want to do the 50-50. They want to be a partner, they want to be a lover, but they don't want to be a leader of the relationship. And it's gotten to the point where now these women complain where these men want to live off of us and they don't want to do anything. They don't want to lead. They don't want to do anything. Well, you demonize the the traditional relationships in the past so much that men don't want to. They don't want to be like those guys without understanding there were certain things that happened in the past that were needed to be done. One of the things is, a lot of women talk about where they made women marry these type of guys that they wasn't attracted to. Well, most of the time, because most of the fathers made sure that you dealt with someone that ain't gonna just run off on you. They're not gonna leave you with a baby and run. That's gonna be able to take care of you, and where you ain't got to be running back to them. That's what men did in the past. That's why when they were in control of the the household, they didn't allow their daughters to be just dating any old bum. Now, did it happen? Yeah, but it wasn't as much as it is now because those fathers made sure that nah, bro, you gotta have some money coming up in here. No, you ain't about to deal with this troublemaker. Not in this house. And those girls knew that, hey, if you gonna get with him, you shit out of luck. So you had that going on. We're talking about financial abuse, and yes, there was some of that going on, but a lot of times men were in control of money because we understood that women are emotional and they buy things out of emotion, not out of logic. You see women with a ton of shoes and a ton of different hats and stuff, especially now. Well, the men control the money so they didn't do all that stuff. So the money be spent where it need to be spent. You didn't see the women getting all these outrageous hairstyles and all that kind of stuff because the men were in control of the money. You know, uh, you hear all this women, well, I want to have my own money, and now back in the day they didn't allow that because your money, just like his money, was for the family. That's what it was for. It's for the benefit of the family. Now, yes, did you have dudes who abused that? Of course. I mean, but the way a lot of these women make it is like this was the majority instead of the minority. And I remember there was a panel a few days ago with Lil Mon. Well, why is this so? Why a lot of these people balk at these relationships? Well, one is the economics is different. A lot of men don't have the economic means to take care of a family by themselves as much as they used to back in the day. Two, women joining the workforce that took away jobs from men, which we don't talk about, but that's what happened when a lot of the women got into the workforce. They took away a lot of jobs, and the biggest sufferers of that were black men. So so and then you have sexual revolution that where women didn't want to pick they wanted to pick their own husbands and boyfriends and people to sleep with, which add to the widespread of the birth control pill and and abortions. being more legalized, women were more freer. They wouldn't going to just listen to their fathers. And then you had in the black community, in particular, when you had the crack era, yeah, that really killed a lot of the men being leaders in their household, which in turn left women in charge of the households. And most people are not. Some people do listen to their mothers, but again, there is no real threat if the mother say something. For the most part, they're not gonna. They still. Let's just put it this way: a lot of teenage pregnancies happen when the fathers was taken away from the home, and I'll just leave it at that. Then again, when you had a home, the men were required to take care. The men were required to have their own, get their own. Then get into a relationship. It's not like now where it's backwards. They want people to get into relationships. They want to get in a relationship before they even get their money straight. And you got women who will date a guy who ain't got their money straight, but he looks good. He got potential. When back in the day, you didn't date on potential. You date on does he have it. If he ain't got it, nah, bro, nah, you ain't dating him. So, and another thing, they talk about, well, a lot of these people didn't like each other. Okay, yeah, but they understood that one, it was for survival, and two, if they wanted to build a family, the family came first before everything. Now, yes, you can make the argument that there were some consequences of that. There are a lot of big mama kept secrets. There was a lot of abuse that was happening. Yes, but that wasn't in a lot of households. Not like it is now. Now it's just running rampant. You um, you're pretty much 1 out of 7 black people are coming out of either abusive, either some type of abuse in their households. 1 out of 7. I mean, uh, black women, 1 out of 3 may have been abused sexually, physically. The boys, same thing, 1 out of 7. So you got 13 out of 30 black people who is some type of abuse. You didn't have that. And even if it was going on, the family took care of it. You don't have that now. You don't have that togetherness as a family anymore, where they can handle situations. Now, I do agree. Like I said, there were secrets, and there some of these abusers were allowed to stay in the families and be around people. That is tragic, and that is a that is something that needs to be talked about on both ends, because you had men predators and you had women predators that were allowed to stay in these families. People, black men and black women who were abusing their children, and they would still get revered and cheered. I remember my mother-in-law was talking about her mother. Her mother treated her like shit, but yet in the community she was revered. And this that that thing needs to be talked about more, and we try to bury our head in the sand about stuff like that. These are secrets that the family kept, traditional families kept, that if we and we always seem to want to demonize it on the men's side, but we don't talk about the women's side. We don't talk about she got pregnant by the milkman while the man out there busting his ass, and he just accepted that this child is his. We don't talk about that stuff. It wasn't just these men running around creating babies everywhere. There were the women up there letting these dudes come in there and have babies with them, and they're married. So again, but like I said, there wasn't that many. But when we talk about the demonization of the traditional relationships, we always seem to stem from the men's side, but we don't talk about the women's side. And I get it where men run everything. Well, like I said, you doing dirt in the dark, it's still dirt. So with that, like I said, you demonize the traditional relationships, but at the same time, you still have more complaints about relationships now than you did back then. We don't know how to deal with each other as opposed back then. Back then, in those traditional relationships, the men were taught they supposed to take care of the woman regardless. Even if he running around, he's still taking care of the family. You don't have that now. So, like I said, a lot of these women now, some of these women demonize these traditional relationships. But guess what? The family stayed together. It wasn't this running out of there. You didn't have all these laws out here too. That's another thing we don't talk about. The laws were different. You didn't have this no fault divorce. You didn't have the child support and the alimony. The family handled the business. And again, but when, you know, so many women say it was so oppressive, but yet you the women now complain more about men than any other group, any other time period. You would think in the 60s and 70s they would have more of a complaint. But no, it's now. Why don't these men take care of me? Why don't you get your lazy ass up and get a job? Well, women supposed to take, I'm supposed to have my own money. Well, you get your own money. We'll stay single. Well, but you want the men to be traditional, but you don't want to be a traditional woman. Well, it don't work that way. So at the end of the day, you want to demonize a traditional relationship, but you had more protection back then than you do now. Now, um, where you had the father and the mother making sure that the women in particular don't get caught up with these ain't shit niggas. Now you took well, you didn't take it away, but it's gone now. So now you're susceptible to players. You're susceptible to these Macs. You're susceptible to these drug dealers. You're susceptible to these hood dudes. You're susceptible to dudes who don't have any good intentions to deal with you because now you don't have the safety of that father and that mother. Even if they hated each other, they made sure that you don't follow the same path. You don't have that now. So if you're going to demonize relationships, these traditional relationships, I think if you're going to cry about wanting to be independent, then don't cry about these. Then you can't cry about if these dudes don't want to take care of you anymore, because nobody's going to want to deal with a selfish bitch. Nobody's going to deal with a selfish woman. At least not long term. All they're going to give you is probably dick, except for simps. Except for dudes who don't really care about themselves and they don't value themselves, then yeah, they will take care of a selfish chick. But then you're not gonna want that because now you're gonna run him over and now you're not attracted to him no more. So it's like a lot of these women are shooting themselves in the foot over these type of relationships. You want independence, but when people are saying, okay, well, you be independent, we go 50-50, now you want to cry. Why do you want to live off of me? Well, you don't want the traditional relationship where the man take care of everything. You want to do your own thing. Well, you get what you get. Now these dudes ain't required to be providers, protectors, leaders, and all that. So you get what you get. Now you're gonna get that lover, companion, and the partner that you want. But they may not be a leader, provider, protector. but they'll give you good dick. And they'll be there to be a shoulder to cry on, but they're not going to be the leader that you need. So again, if you want to demonize these past relationships, these traditional relationships, and saying it was so horrible for women, well, I will say look at what you have now back then and really, really re-examine. Do you really have it better now than you did back then? Or is it a trade-off? You get more freedom, but then you have the more stresses of freedom. But that's it for me. It wasn't going to be too long. I got to go in. I may go to work, may not. I'm thinking about it. But anyway, yeah, have a good one. Brother Speak Out.